Later, some of the Noldor went to Eregion, upon the west of the Misty Mountains, and near to the west gate of Moria. This they did because they learned that Mithril had been discovered in Moria. The Noldor were great craftsmen, and less unfriendly to the dwarves than the Sindar, but the friendship that grew between the people of Durin and the elven smiths of Eregion was the closest that there has ever been between the two races. Celebrimbor was lord of Eregion, and the greatest of their craftsmen, for he was descended from Feanor.
Of course he was. I'm Danny J.
And I'm Joel N., and we are Keep on Tolkien.
Of course.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. This is episode 73.
Yeah, we're 6 episodes into season 6 already.
Wow.
Things are moving right on along. And we hope you've been enjoying our theme for this half of the season, which has been the new Rings of Power show, essentially.
Yeah, we're trying to stay relevant with the Rings of Power show.
Yeah. We've either been talking about the Rings of Power show or subjects related thereto. And
Pretty
today
much.
We've got another one for you.
Yes.
Today we're going to be talking about Eregion. But before we get too far into things, announcements.
Announcements. The one and only announcement.
The only announcement we have. Merch.
Merch available. Yay. New t-shirts, designs, and other merch to come in the future, guys. But just give it a check out. It's keep-on-tolkien-podcast.tmill.com.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun putting in, some artistic effort into making those. And enlisting some of our friends to do the same. We're proud of our friends.
And if you're a Trevor stan, like I know you are, he designed some of those t-shirts. He famously designed the Shafted t-shirt.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite ones.
Get in there and check some of those out. Bigger size is coming soon.
Yeah, bigger size is coming soon. And just a word on T-Mill, they're a really cool company. They're super environmentally friendly, if that's your thing. I really like that about them. But yeah, so check us out there, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So today's subject, we're going to be talking about the realm of Eregion. Eregion. And some of you may be wondering what this is. If you watch the show, you probably know what we're talking about. But real quick, briefly, what is the realm of Eregion?
Well, it's a land of the elves in the west of Middle-earth during the Second Age. It's famous for its smithwork and the friendship of its people with the dwarves of nearby Khazad-dûm.
Yeah, and the elves of Eregion are famous for coming under the influence of Sauron and unwittingly aiding him in making the Rings of Power.
Oops.
Yeah, and we got to see some of these things come into play in the show.
Oh, totally. Let's get into some names and titles for Eregion.
Yeah, there's not too many. So we've got the name most people know it by, Eregion, which is a Sindarin name for Holly region.
Yeah, there you go. And then we got Holland Land, or Holland, which is Westron for Land of Holly.
Yeah, a lot of holly-related shit.
A lot of holly going on there.
Turns out there's a lot of holly that grows there, if you didn't guess by now.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly. That's the lyric, right? Oh, shit, Christmas is coming up.
Oh, my God, you guys. It's here. I feel like it came so quick this year.
When they hear this episode, it's going to be even closer to Christmas.
I know. It's going to be
God.
so close. It's upon us.
Oh, man, it's upon us, guys. Hopefully, you're all in a good headspace this time of year. But it just started getting really dark really soon here.
Where we are, yeah. It's that time of the year where the days are shorter.
Oh,
by the time when I get up to go to work, the sun is just rising, and when I come home from work at the end of the day, the sun. Yeah, literally when I get home from work is sunset.
Yep. If you sleep off a hangover, you just sleep into the next night.
But let's jump out of the real world because it sucks.
Because it sucks.
Let's go back into the fantasy realm. So, Eregion. Let's get into a little bit of the origins of this region.
So, at the end of the First Age, most of the Noldor who remained in Middle-earth, they dwelt in Lindon under the rule of Gil-galad, their high king.
Yeah, after 7 centuries, some of the elves that were living in Lindon, they chose to depart, and they traveled eastward, drawn by the promise of recently discovered mithril in the mines of the dwarves of the Misty Mountains.
Mithril.
Yeah, so some of these elves went out towards the Misty Mountains, drawn by the promise of Mithril, kind of like a gold rush, I guess you could say.
A Mithril rush.
A Mithril rush. And they developed the region of Eregion in the year 750 of the Second Age.
Yeah. They sure did.
And we've got an excerpt here from the Appendix B, The Tale of Years.
In the beginning of this age, many of the high elves still remained. Most of these dwelt in Lindon, west of Ered Luin, but before the building of Barad-dûr, many of the Sindar passed eastward, and some established realms in the forests far away, where their people were mostly Sylvan elves. Thanduril, king of the north of the Greenwood the Great, was one of these. In Lindon, north of the Lune, dwelt Gil-galad, last heir of the kings of the Noldor in exile. Later, some of the Noldor went to Eregion, upon the west of the Misty Mountains and near to the west gate of Moria. Celebrimbor was lord of Eregion and the greatest of their craftsmen. He was descended from Feanor.
Yeah, Celebrimbor the elf.
Yeah. He doesn't like his dad, though, remember? Because his dad is an asshole.
Right, yeah. Grandson of Feanor. He's the son of Celebrimbor, son of, is it Curufin?
Curufin, yep.
Curufin.
Yeah, famous asshole.
Famous asshole. One of the 7 sons of Feanor.
Yeah, so Celebrimbor used to live in fucking Nargothrond, then.
He did. He used to live in Nargothrond because his father and his uncle lived there for a while. That all comes into play in the Beren and Luthien tale.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and when they kicked them out of Nargothrond,
yeah,
Celebrimbor's like, "See ya, Dad. You fucked up. I'm done with you. Bye-bye."
Yeah, the events of Beren and Luthien are essentially what expose Celebrimbor's father to be such a fucking asshole, because he's one of the people that locked up Luthien, right?
Right.
And that's essentially what they find out, and that they let Finrod die. That was the big. That was the big thing. That's what we're.
They set up Finrod for.
They
his
set
death.
up. They let the king fucking die, and then
And then Celebrimbor also.
Celebrimbor disowns his father after that.
Celebrimbor was in Nargothrond when they reforged Gurthang, or Anglekel into Gurthang, remember?
You know what? That's true.
That's our theory that he might have done that.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. We had that old Tolkieneering theory, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he would have been hands down the best smith they had.
Little flashback. This is just not in the episode even.
That might be a flashback to the first season, dude. Holy shit, that's years ago. That's like 5 years ago.
I remember everything.
Good job, man. You got a good memory.
I do. That's why I never forget horrific traumatic incidents, you know? But anyway, let's get more into Celebrimbor.
So, considering that Celebrimbor is generally accepted to be Eregion's leader, it would be natural to assume that Eregion was founded by Celebrimbor. But Tolkien never actually explicitly states this anywhere.
In the published works, Tolkien's only definitive comment on Eregion's foundation is from The Tale of Years in Appendix B, and that says, 750, Eregion founded by the Noldor.
Yeah. Kind of a vaguely curious statement, because you'd think if Celebrimbor was meant to be the founder, you'd think that you'd see his name appear somewhere. He was already a very prominent character at this point. So some people think, it's weird that he essentially would have purposely left that blank and not written Celebrimbor in.
I have a theory.
What's that?
So I talked about this earlier. This is getting a little leftist, but it's got a little leftist language, right?
Okay.
So my theory is that this is an anarchist group. This is an anarcho-syndicalist union of people living in Eregion. Because they are basically run by like a labor union syndicate, right?
We'll get to that, yeah.
The Mírdain.
Mm-hmm.
And also, they have no explicit leader, really. They say Celebrimbor is the greatest craftsman of them all. He's kind of their lord, right?
Sort of, yeah, but they don't have... Yeah, you're right. They don't have any express leader. Like Rivendell, the Lord of Rivendell, is Elrond, right? And then, like, the High King is in Lindon, and, in Lorien, you've got the...
And in Eregion, you got who? The most experienced elders, right? Elder craftsmen.
A group of people.
A group of people who are qualified and know shit, right?
Yeah.
And are generally, the general consensus elects them to be leaders, right?
And pretty much everyone that moved to live in Eregion are there for work reasons. Like the whole reason that area was established was due to the closeness to the mines of Moria and the Mithril, and they're all about forging there. They're all Noldor.
Kind of sounds like anarcho-syndicalism to me.
It kind of does. Me and Danny were just having this conversation before we started the episode. It was actually really interesting because it does fit very well.
And there are the Mouths of Syrian is another place that you could consider an anarchist place.
Oh yeah, that was almost like a refugee camp. Although I suppose they were there for a very long time. It was more than just a camp. It was
it became a society.
It was a settlement. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but anyway, that's for the Patreon episode, Anarchism and Leftism in Middle Earth.
There you go. Now we'll have to make that.
Give to the Patreon.
So the founding of Eregion happened in the year 750. Tolkien didn't explicitly say who the leader was or who founded it.
Because they were anarchists.
Because they're anarchists. That could be it. But also, there is this. In the Unfinished Tales, we get an alternate version of the story where Tolkien states that Eregion was founded by Galadriel and Celeborn before they moved across the mountains and settled in Lorien.
Yeah, in this version, Eregion was founded by Galadriel and Celeborn in Second Age 700 versus 750, and they ruled until 1350. And we got an excerpt about that. And where is this from? The Unfinished Tales. Yeah, so this is not quite canon stuff. This is chapter A History of Galadriel and Celeborn, a very confusing chapter. Here we go, guys.
Celeborn and Galadriel therefore went eastwards about the year 700 of the Second Age, and established the Noldor realm of Eregion. It may be that Galadriel chose it because she knew of the dwarves of Khazad-dûm. Galadriel was far-sighted, and she perceived from the beginning that Middle-earth would not be saved from the residue of evil that Morgoth had left behind, save by a union of all the peoples who were in their way and in their measure opposed to him. She looked upon the dwarves also with the eye of a commander, seeing in them the finest warriors to pit against the orcs. Moreover, Galadriel was a Noldo, and she had a natural sympathy with their minds and their passionate love of crafts of hand, sympathy much greater than that found among many other of the Eldar. The dwarves were the children of Aule, and Galadriel, like others of the Noldor, had been a pupil of Aule and Yavanna in Valinor.
Of course, yeah, lived in Valinor.
Yeah, so here in the Unfinished Tales, which, like Danny said, is since it's from the Unfinished Tales, it's technically not canon. Anything from the Unfinished Tales is in that book because it's unfinished.
Questionable.
So it's questionable.
I suppose some of it's canon, like the Third Age stuff with the Rohirrim and stuff. That's all canon.
Yeah, it's hard to say what isn't canon,
especially in this Galadriel chapter.
Yeah, within the Unfinished Tales, because there's a lot of contradicting information, and this is one of those things. So in a lot of other places, it says that the Eregion was founded by the Noldor in the year 750, and then now in this version, it's founded by Galadriel and Celeborn, which I guess you could say Galadriel is a Noldor.
Yes,
and but in this, it was founded in 750, and yeah, there's just so much more information to it. But since it was an unfinished tale, it's technically never made it into the actual narrative.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the Celeborn and Galadriel narrative is so messed up.
There's so many versions of it. Yeah, he was doing so much retconning with that.
Yeah.
So this account from the Unfinished Tales, it continues stating that after the year 1350, Galadriel and Celeborn crossed the Misty Mountains over to Lorien, their new kingdom, which becomes Lothlorien, as we know. And this would be when the Gwaith-i-Mírdain under Celebrimbor begin ruling Eregion, instead of, right off the bat, like in the version that's technically canon.
Is this when they called it Lindoranland, right?
Yes.
Which meant Valley of the Singers, right?
Valley of the Golden, I think.
Oh, damn. There's another name for it that means Valley of the Singers, and I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, this is before it becomes known as Lothlorien.
Yeah.
But, it isn't quite clear to what extension, like we said before, this account from the Unfinished Tales can be taken as canon. It isn't completely consistent with stuff that's in the Lord of the Rings, but, a lot of this remains really interesting possibilities.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some geography. How about that?
Yeah, a little bit of geography. So there's not a ton. It was kind of a small region.
Sure.
And it didn't exist for terribly long.
No.
As far as elves are
concerned. Around 1,000 years or so.
But, so what we know is Eregion is a region on the western side of the Misty Mountains, south of Rivendell. We've got a little excerpt here from the Silmarillion of the Rings of Power, and of the Third Age.
Others of the Eldar there were who crossed the mountains of Ered in that age and passed into the inner lands. But only in Eregion, which men call Holland, did elves of the Noldoran race establish a lasting realm beyond the Ered.
Yeah, so the general geography of Eregion it's generally established. We know where it was, on the west side of the Misty Mountains, kind of in the foothills. But the location of its capital, known as Ost-in-Edil, it's kind of unclear exactly where that was.
Mm-hmm. We do know that there was a main road that ran from Khazad-dûm along the stream Sirianan. Is that how you say that? Sirianan, sorry. And we know that this road was, quote, the only road of old to Moria from the west. And that's from the Fellowship of the Ring, A Journey in the Dark.
Yeah, so we can safely assume that this road would lead to Ost-in-Edil. Oh, I always have issues pronouncing that.
That DH sound, yeah. That's
that DH.
That's a Germanic word or letter that we don't use in English.
Danny was trying to help instruct me on how to pronounce that because it's almost like a TH.
It's like a th or a duh, yeah.
The or a duh. Yeah, Ost-in-Edil. So we can safely assume that this road would lead to the capital, Ost-in-Edil, which would place the city probably somewhere on the river Sirianan. But there are some who suspect that it may have possibly been a little further west, somewhere on the banks of the next river over, the Glanduin. So, but we know that it was built on a river.
On a river,
in the
as
foothills,
most cities would be, especially elven cities.
South of Rivendell. And I actually really liked how they... and pictured it in the show. I thought it was gorgeous.
It was cool.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I liked it.
And the big super forge that they built or whatever.
The gigantic super forge. Yeah, that was cool. So let's get into that relationship between Eregion and Khazad-dûm.
Yeah, because that's the whole reason that Eregion was built there.
Of course. The elves of Eregion, they lived in harmony and traded freely with the dwarven civilization of Khazad-dûm.
Yeah, a high road, like we had mentioned, ran from the capital of Ost-in-Edil to Khazad-dûm's west gates. And the Noldor and the dwarves developed a very close friendship, like we kind of mentioned earlier.
Super tight, because remember, they both love Aule.
They both love Aule.
Yeah, and we got a quote from the Silmarillion. This is from the of the Rings of Power in the Third Age chapter. Here we go.
Eregion was nigh to the great mansions of the dwarves that were named Khazad-dûm, but by the elves had Hodrund, and afterwards Moria. From Ost-in-Edil, the city of the elves, the high road ran to the west gate of Khazad-dûm, for a friendship arose between dwarves and elves, such as has never elsewhere been, to the enrichment of both those peoples.
Yeah, so this is an example of when cultures can get along, they can both enrich each other.
Yeah,
immensely.
Rather than focusing on what makes them different, they focused on the one thing that they both love, which is craftsmanship.
Wow, it's almost like you could just, find something in common with almost anybody and create a peaceful civilization.
It's crazy.
It's weird.
It's a crazy thought. Crazy concept.
Crazy concept.
So, back to the Unfinished Tales. So, in the Unfinished Tales, where it talks about this version of Eregion where Galadriel and Celeborn are its founders, in this area, Tolkien also discusses that it may have been due to the foresight of Galadriel that the Noldor founded Eregion so close to Khazad-dûm. We've got a quick excerpt here from the Unfinished Tales, the history of Galadriel and Celeborn. That wonderful, wonderful, long chapter.
Celeborn and Galadriel therefore went eastward about the year 700 of the Second Age, and established the Noldoran realm of Eregion. It may be that Galadriel chose it because she knew of the dwarves of Khazad-dûm. Galadriel was far-sighted, and she perceived from the beginning that Middle-earth would not be saved from the residue of evil that Morgoth had left behind, save by a union of all the peoples who were in their way and in their measure opposed to him. She looked upon the dwarves also with the eye of a commander, seeing in them the finest warriors to pit against the orcs. Moreover, Galadriel was a Noldo, and she had a natural sympathy with their minds and their passionate love of crafts of hand, sympathy much greater than that found among many of the Eldar. The dwarves were the children of Aule, and Galadriel, like the others of the Noldor, had been a pupil of Aule and Yavanna in Valinor.
Yeah, so they had a lot in common.
Yeah, they love the same god. It's funny because there's some religions on our planet that have the same god and they hate each other.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about.
It's weird.
At least they get along here.
Yeah.
So the Noldor and the dwarves, they cooperate together for about 1,000 years, and both the dwarves and the Noldor benefited from the trade of goods and knowledge.
Yeah, the Noldor even introduced the dwarves to a more developed form of Kurth runes that they called Angerthas Deiron, or the alphabet of Deiron. A little bit on Deiron. That's Deiron,
The minstrel.
the minstrel,
Yeah.
whom actually fell in love with Luthien
Yeah, friend of Luthien.
in Doriath.
Back in Doriath in the first stage. So
he would
was
sing and she would dance, and it was apparently like the shit, like just to watch that happen.
Yeah, apparently he was one of the most one of the most skilled minstrels. He was also apparently a very good writer. He developed an entire alphabet, an entire text known as Kurth runes. Yeah, so the Noldor introduced the dwarves to a more developed form of these Kurth runes. The Noldor had taken the original Kurth, known as Kerthas Deiran, and they further developed the alphabet using some inspiration from their own language, Sindarin, to essentially make the alphabet more usable by other languages.
Before we get into this, just a little bit more on Deiron, all right? This dude was the greatest musician of all time, developed languages, and Luthien, he was her number 2.
Yep.
How cool is Baron?
Yeah, how cool must Baron be?
Yeah, how cool must Baron be that this guy was just like not good enough?
Not good. This guy was like amazing.
Yeah, dude. We got a excerpt here. This is from The Lord of the Rings Appendix E, Writing and Spelling. So this is a little bit about the language.
The elves of the West, indeed, for the most part, gave up the use of runes altogether. In the country of Eregion, however, the alphabet of Deiron was maintained in use and passed thence to Moria, where it became the alphabet most favored by the dwarves. It remained ever after in the use among them, and passed with them to the north. Hence, in later times, it was often called Angerthas Moria, or Long Runes of Moria. As with their speech, the dwarves made use of such scripts as were current, and many wrote the Feanorian letters skillfully. But for their own tongue, they adhered to the Kurth and developed written pen forms from them.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so the dwarves really picked up Kurth runes, especially when it came to Khuzdul, their language.
Yeah, it's really cool. I did not know that originated from the Elvish Kurth.
Yeah, which
we
really
said
cool.
Is the original language of the Sindarin, right?
Of the Sindar, from the first age. Yeah, Tolkien, everything Tolkien did began based around these languages, so the languages are really cool.
Really thought out. In the rare friendship between the elves and dwarves, that was the closest in history we've ever known it to be.
Yeah, between dwarves and elves ever.
Celebrimbor became close friends with a famous dwarven smith, Narvi, and they became homies for life.
For real, they were super tight. They were like the two best smiths that either of their peoples had at the time.
Yeah, and Narvi's going to be in Rings of Power Season 2.
Yeah, confirmed for Season 2.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Friend of Celebrimbor, so that'll be cool.
Celebrimbor even helped Narvi construct the famous West Gates of Moria.
Yeah, those glowing gates with the Ithildan letters.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff. So within Eregion, an important society or guild of craftsmen emerged with Celebrimbor as its leader, and this is the Gwaith-i-Mírdain that we've referenced a few times.
Yeah, like I said, essentially a labor union.
Yeah, let's talk about them a little more in depth, because we cannot talk about Eregion without talking about the Gwaith-i-Mírdain. They are incredibly important, especially when it comes to the Rings of Power.
Of course. The Gwaith-i-Mírdain was a brotherhood of elven master craftsmen in the Second Age. The Noldor were a people who esteemed knowledge and craft. And among the settlers in Eregion was Celebrimbor, the grandson of the great artisan Feanor, along with many other talented craftsmen.
Yeah, and all these very talented craftsmen, they formed a powerful and influential society of jewel smiths, and they took their name from the Elvish Mírdain, which means jewel smith, becoming known in full as the Gwaith-i-Mírdain, or the people of the jewel smiths. Yes, Eregion's whole culture was essentially built around this.
So check this, right? Their main job is to do smithery, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they elect the people who are best at smithery to be their leaders, right?
Right.
Does that sound
crazy concept?
Sounds like anarchism to me.
Crazy
right?
concept.
There's actually an anarchist saying, in the matters of the boot, consult the bootmaker. So that natural authority is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
and its authority derivative of their knowledge rather than the threat of violence.
Yeah,
There you
and
go.
that's exactly what this is. This is all of Eregion was developed around smithing, crafting, because of being so close to Khazad-dûm and the
Yeah.
resources they could get.
Mhm.
And now you've got this group of the best craftsmen, the Gwaith-i-Mírdain. And
Actually
sometimes
leading, too.
Yeah, they lead it. Sometimes they actually abbreviate their name to just Mírdain, just the jewel smiths.
The
But-
Zulsmiths.
Yeah, they're the ones that constructed the Great Hall in the capital of Austin Edthil, and that Great Hall was called the House of the Mírdain, and it contained all of their fancy forges and workshops, as well as treasuries to hold all of their various crazy works. It must have been a pretty crazy place to be.
Yeah, the Gwaiths were said to be the most talented smiths and artisans since Feanor himself. And that was actually Celebrimbor's grandfather.
Yeah, as we've mentioned a few times.
Yeah.
Uh,
you got to remember that. He's
Gotta remember that.
Gotta remember that.
Gotta drive that home. Like, this is the last surviving of the line of Feanor.
Yeah, remember in the show they had Celebrimbor had Feanor's hammer?
Yeah, that was pretty
That was
cool.
pretty sick.
That was pretty-
I was kind of like, wow, that's cool.
That was pretty cool. That was one of the little nuggets that I loved from
Yeah,
that
little
show.
little nerd nugget.
Little nerd nugget. So here's a little nerd nugget from the Silmarillion of the Rings of Power in the Third Age.
In Eregion, the craftsmen of the Gwaith-i-Mírdain, the people of the jewelsmiths, surpassed in cunning all that have ever wrought, save only Feanor himself. And indeed, greatest in skill among them was Celebrimbor, son of Curufin, who was estranged from his father.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, from the first stage, everything that happened with Baron and Luthien didn't like his dad.
Father's a dick. Yeah, and he set up King Felagund for the knockoff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they fucking hated him.
Kind of broke their oath a little bit. That's kind of considered oath breaking, don't you think? They sat aside and let somebody else die fulfilling their oath rather than help them.
I guess I wouldn't consider that oath breaking.
It's bending. It's oath bending.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is what brings about the Gwaith-i-Mírdain, and they are generally considered the rulers of Eregion for most of its existence. And they prospered in Eregion, and they grew immensely wealthy over centuries.
Yeah. Let's get into it, guys. That great creation of the rings / the downfall / fall of Eregion.
Yeah, because the rings kind of are the fall of Eregion.
Sure are.
So the Mírdain, they had been crafting their jewels in Eregion for more than 4 centuries when, in the year 1200 of the Second Age, a strange visitor came to them, calling himself Anatar, Lord of Gifts.
And we, of course, know, as the reader, that this is Sauron in his fair form, trying to win the trust of the elves.
Yeah, he presented himself as an agent of the Valar, who was in Middle-earth to help the children of Iluvatar. He straight up lied and just like, I'm from the Valar. I'm here to help.
I'm from the Valar. The gods, they said I'm cool. At this point, Sauron, or Anatar, had already been denied the friendship of Gil-galad and Elrond. They were too smart. They saw through the shit.
Yeah, they knew something was up with this guy right from the start. They're just like, no.
Vibe check failed, as Ella, our friend, would say. Right?
Vibe check failed.
However, the Noldorin Smiths of Eregion, they were more open to his friendship mainly because of the knowledge that he lured them with. Remember, the downfall of the Noldor is always their seeking of knowledge. I was going to hit the table, but that would sound
That's how Melkor got them originally too, in the years of the trees.
Yep, always with that thirst of knowledge. And
You think they'd learn by now, but
You think they'd
they're
learn?
so damn thirsty.
Yep,
Thirsty ass sons of bitches thirsting for that knowledge.
thirsting for that knowledge. And then we got a quote here from the Silmarillion about all that jazz.
It was in Eregion that the counsels of Sauron were most gladly received, for in that land the Noldor desired ever to increase their skill and subtlety of their works. Moreover, they were not at peace in their hearts, since they had refused to return into the west, and they desired both to stay in Middle-earth, which indeed they loved, and yet to enjoy the bliss of those that had departed. Therefore they hearkened to Sauron, and they learned of him many things, for his knowledge was great. And in those days the smiths of the Austin Edthil surpassed all that they had contrived before, and they took thought, and they made rings of power. But Sauron guided their labors, and he was aware of all that they did, for his desire was to set a bond upon the elves and to bring them under his vigilance.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is He's definitely premeditated.
Oh, yeah. He's scheming.
Yeah, this would be murder in the 3rd degree. Is that premeditated or is it first?
First.
First is premeditated.
First is, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Premeditated murder.
Premeditated trickery right here.
So now let's switch back to non-canon land.
Yeah, so the following is an account of what happens next in the Unfinished Tales version of the story, where Galadriel and Celeborn were the founders and early leaders of Eregion. So let's jump back into the tale that includes Celeborn and Galadriel. This is a excerpt from the Unfinished Tales. Again, the history of Galadriel and Celeborn.
Sauron used all his arts upon Celebrimbor and his fellow smiths, who had formed a society of brotherhood, very powerful in Eregion, the Gwaith-i-Mírdain, but he worked in secret, unknown to Galadriel and Celeborn. Before long, Sauron had the Gwaith-i-Mírdain under his influence, for at first they had great profit from his instruction in secret matters of their craft. So great became his hold on the Mírdain that at length he persuaded them to revolt against Galadriel and Celeborn and to seize power in Eregion. And that was some time between 1350 and 1400 of the Second Age. Galadriel thereupon left Eregion and passed through Khazad-dûm into Lorinand.
Yeah, so that it would be why Galadriel and Celeborn left Eregion, at least in this version of the tale that includes them.
They were ousted by a people's revolution?
They were ousted by the Gwaith-i-Mírdain. Yeah, so that's even more anarchist because
they overthrew their leaders. Yeah,
they overthrew the fucking.
Tolkien was into this leftism shit. I know it, right?
Yeah. Apparently he thought the Gwaith-i-Mírdain sure were.
Yeah, exactly. So Anatar, he taught the Gwaith much, and in Second Age 1500, he assisted them in the making of 16 Rings of Power.
Yeah, and after Anatar taught and assisted the Gwaith with creating the Rings of Power, he mysteriously left Eregion. But Celebrimbor's smiths, they proceeded to forge 3 more rings on their own with all of the knowledge that they had already gained from Sauron. But their forging was completed around the year 1590 of the Second Age, and Anatar didn't learn about any of these, and they were unsullied, free from his corrupted influence.
Indeed. When Sauron created the One Ring in Second Age 1600, the elves who wore the Rings of Power heard his voice and realized that they had been deceived.
Yeah, so while those 3 elven rings that were unsullied by Sauron's corrupt influence in their making, they were still subject to the One. So when the One was made, yeah, they felt that, and they realized that they had been deceived. And in the year 1693, Celebrimbor sent his 3 rings out of Eregion for safekeeping.
He, of course, gave Nenya to Galadriel and Lothlorien, who advised him to send the other 2 to Lindon away from Sauron. So he gave Vilya to Gil-galad and Narya to Círdan, both in Lindon.
Yeah, and this brings us to a little segment here that we decided to call
Middle Earth Home Shopping Network.
Middle Earth Home Shopping Network. Yeah, get ready for this, guys. So this is just a fun little bit that we thought of.
Yeah, we thought maybe this is how it could have happened. This is another like what if type of goofy, a goofy what if.
How did Sauron go about distributing all 16 of those rings of power? We had a little fun pretending. So let's let's check this out.
All right, let's take it away to Middle Earth Home Shopping Network, guys. Hey there, elves, men, and dwarves. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Middle Earth Home Shopping Network. I'm your humble host, Anatar. We've got some really, really special items up for sale on your program tonight. And what's special about those items, you ask? Well, everything we sell here at Middle Earth Home Shopping Network is special, but today is different. Today, we will be selling magical rings made by yours truly and the folks of the Gwaith-i-Mírdain. All right, let's get right to it with our first caller. Hello, friend. Can you hear me?
Hello. Am I coming through fine?
Yes, caller, you are coming through fine. Just fine. Clear and plain and fine. Am I coming through fine?
Yes, just fine.
Then as you say, we're both coming through just fine. How are you today?
Oh, fine, just fine. I was just calling to see if you had any of those magic rings you were talking about.
Why, yes, of course. We have plenty of magic rings to sell to our most valued customers.
Wow, that's great. Well, I'm a dwarf calling from the Iron Hills, and I was just wondering if you had something to maybe increase the power and prosperity of our dwarven kingdom out here.
Why, yes, I have just the thing for you.
Wow, that's just great, Anatar. I mean, I knew you'd come through for me.
Yes, of course. Would you like to see what I have here for you?
Yes, please. Show me, friend.
All right, you asked for it, and Middle-earth Home Shopping Network delivers it for you today here on live television. We have a beautiful magic ring.
Ooh, look at that. Wow.
That's right. By owning this ring, you will have the power beyond your wildest dreams. You'll be the richest and most prosperous dwarf the Iron Hills has ever seen, my friend.
Oh, goody. I bet it's pretty expensive, though.
Actually, today we have 7 of these beauties to sell.
Oh, wow. 7, huh?
That's right, and since the dwarves have been such great customers over the years, here's what we are going to do, guys. My producers won't be happy about this, but today we are prepared to send you and 6 of your closest dwarf friends these beautiful magic rings completely free of charge.
Whoa. Free? Are you sure? That's kind of crazy.
That's right. Call me crazy, but we're giving them away. In fact, they will be sent to you in express shipping.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Wait a second. There's someone at my door.
Well, this is live TV, so let's give our friend a minute to answer the door. That's right, though, friends. We are crazy, and we are giving away magic rings only here on Middle-earth Home Shopping Network. That's right. Let's see if our friend is back.
Hello? Oh, gosh.
Hello, Mr. Dwarf.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I can't believe it. It's here. It's here already. The ring is here. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Now that's what I call express shipping. Are you happy with your ring, Mr. Dwarf?
Oh, yes. Oh, Mahal, yes. Thank you so much, Anatar. You're the greatest.
Well, shucks. Thank you. You and your 6 friends will soon be very powerful and very, very rich, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, caller, you have a good night now and enjoy your ring.
Thank you. Oh, Mahala, bless you. Oh, goodbye.
All right, you saw it here, folks. We are giving magic rings away. Let's see who our next caller is. Hello, caller. Am I coming through fine? Oh, yes, just fine. That's just fine. What can we do for you today, caller? Well, you see, I'm a king of men, but I am old, very old. I was just wondering if you had anything that would help increase my years walking among this earth. Oh, well, that's a common problem among the kings of men, I hear. Oh, yes. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do for you, and 8 of your closest kings of men friends. Oh, gosh. What can you do for me, Anatar? Well, we've got another special magic ring here made by yours truly, along with my Gwaith friends over in Eregion. Oh, gosh, a magic ring? That's right, my lord. A magic ring that will expand the time you will walk among this earth for longer than you could ever hope for. Oh, wow. That would be just great. Oh, wait. There's someone at the door. Just a second. All right, folks. While he answers the door, let's talk about what you just saw. I'm Anatar, and we are here giving away free magic rings, only here on Middle-earth Home Shopping Network. Let's see if our friend got his gift. Hello? Hello there, my lord. Have you gotten your gift via our express shipping? Why, yes. It's here, and it's beautiful. I can actually feel my life extending as I put it on. I feel powerful. Well, that's great, my lord. I wish you and your 8 friends will be more than happy with your gifts. Goodbye now, my lord. Goodbye. And, thank God for you, Anatar. Thank God for you. All right, then. Well, folks, before we go, there's something I should probably ought to let you all in on here. What? Sorry, my producer's in my ear. What? Celebrimbor wants to talk. What? Now? But we're live. Fine, put him on. All right, folks, it looks like we have a caller from Eregion, and it's Celebrimbor, grandson of Feanor. How are you today, Celebrimbor?
Oh, fine, just fine. How are you, Anatar?
Fine, just fine. What do we owe the pleasure of your call? Live on air here on Middle-earth Home Shopping Network and nowhere else.
Well, I have something to tell you, and I hope you won't be mad.
Okay. What do you have to say here, live, here on television?
I know we've always discussed something going wrong with the rings.
Okay.
Well, you know how you were staying here in Eregion and helping us make some rings and stuff?
Yeah, I remember.
Well, that summer in 1590, you went home to visit your sick mom. Well, I kind of made 3 rings of my own, without you.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think they might be better and more powerful than anything we made together.
Oh, I see. Well, I have something to confess, too.
Oh?
My mom, she wasn't sick that summer.
Oh, really?
And you are all deceived, for another ring was made.
What?
Yep, that's right. In the fires of Mount Doom, I forged a master ring. One ring to rule them all. Ah ha 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 ha.
Oh, no.
That's right. I've been Sauron the whole time, dummy. And now I put on this ring and you will all be my slaves. Ah ha ha ha. Suck it, free world. I don't care if we're live. Ah ha 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 ha.
We took them off.
What? What?
Yeah, we just kind of sensed you, and so we just took them off. And you know what? Now I think we're going to hide them.
What? No, you can't do that. You're supposed to be enslaved. What the fuck?
Yeah, no, we just took them off. No, not enslaved, sorry.
God damn it. Fine. Just give me those rings. I taught you how to make them and I want them back. You know what? Yeah, just give them back.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
What? No, this isn't how this is supposed to happen. If you don't give them back, I'm going to come get them.
You know what? Fine, do it, pussy.
What? Fuck you, you little Feanorian fuck. I'll get you. You little... Did he just hang up? That piece of shit. I'll fucking kill him. God damn it. I don't care if we're live. Fine, cut the feed. I don't give a fuck.
All right, guys, that's the end of the Middle-earth Home Shopping Network.
Just some fun. Sauron giving his rings out.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Yeah, it was something like he's kind of, I don't know, we were having fun, came up with it. I don't know if any of you noticed, but Danny put threw in a few references to Dr. Love Strange.
Yeah, one of our favorite movies, Dr. Strangelove.
Strange Love.
Yes, I love that movie. I watched that scene earlier today.
Or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb
by Stanley Kubrick, one of the greatest comedies ever made.
So jumping back into Eregion here. So after the rings were made and Sauron made his one ring, the elves were aware of him. They took their rings off and Celebrimbor got all the rings out of Eregion. He gave them to Galadriel and Lothlorien, Gil-galad, and Círdan over in Lindon. So Sauron then became very upset and began a campaign to retake the magic rings and destroy any resistance against him.
The elves of Eregion did not stand alone against Sauron.
No.
From Lindon, Gil-galad sent a force commanded by Elrond to lend them aid.
But unfortunately, before Elrond could come to Eregion, the Dark Lord demanded that the Rings of Power be turned over to him, and when he was refused, he brought his full force against Eregion.
He's about to dick-slap Eregion. And here's a quote about it. From the Atlas of Middle-earth, the Second Age, Advent of the Dark Years. Is this about a dick slap? Is this quote about a dick slap, Joel?
I suppose it kind of is about a dick slap, honestly.
Okay.
It sort of is about a dick slap.
Well, here it is, guys. A quote about the dick slap.
When Sauron realized that his deceptions were revealed, he chose to wage war to punish the elves, gain the rings, and establish his dominion. For a century, he built his armies. Then in 1695, he assailed Eregion. Gil-galad sent Elrond with aid to Ostin-Edil, but before he arrived in 1697, Celebrimbor was slain, and the city had fallen. Khazad-dûm and Lorinand assisted Elrond's forces, but they were too few to break the hold of Sauron, and Elrond retreated north, and the surviving Noldor, along with the surviving Noldor, and they built Imladris.
Yep, that's how Valley of the Cleft became a thing. And
Yeah,
Ladris.
it sort of began as a refugee
refugee.
from the fall of Eregion.
Yeah, refugee camp. I love how that's how glam the elves are. Our refugee camp will be one of the greatest cities ever built.
Greatest ever.
They're great.
So in the year 1697, this is when Austin Edil fell, and Celebrimbor himself, leading a last desperate defense on the steps of the Jewel Smith's Guildhouse, was also killed.
He was taken captive by orcs, then shot through with orc arrows, like Saint Sebastian by some accounts.
Mm-hmm.
I love that wasn't in the outline, but I added it.
It's true.
Sauron used Celebrimbor's body as a banner, and he turned to face Elrond's army approaching from the north.
That's pretty fucking metal.
Pretty sick.
Yeah. So he chased off Elrond's armies using Celebrimbor's dead body
Look what we did to
as a banner.
Feanor's grandson here.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking intense. Sauron gathered up what rings of power he could that remained, and he laid waste to the land of Eregion.
Yeah, we just learned it in the Mordor episode. It was for 6 years, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Just raided the place.
Just fucking destroyed that place. He literally razed it to the ground. And the surviving elves, they either scattered, and there are various accounts of their fates after that. But as we know, some fled northward to join Elrond's hosts, and they joined his forces as they retreated.
Yeah, some of the elves of Eregion settled at Rivendell when Elrond founded it shortly after. They were joined there by others of their kind who had escaped into the wild and only later found their way back to safety.
Yeah, many of these people seem to have later... many of the people from Eregion seem to have later abandoned Middle-earth and eventually sailed west. So there weren't too many folks from Eregion left after the fall. And after this, the realm of Eregion was gone. And that area became known as Holland. And that is more or less brings us to the end of the history of Eregion. It's not terribly long, but it was only around for, like we said, 1,000 years. So we figured it'd be appropriate to end off this history with a lovely quote from the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Book 2, Chapter 3, where the ring goes south. So this is essentially when
Love this chapter.
Yeah, this is when the Fellowship comes across Holland, old Eregion, for the first time.
The travelers reached a low ridge crowned with ancient holly trees, whose gray-green trunks seemed to have been built out of the very stone of the hills. Their dark leaves shone, and their berries glowed red in the light of the rising sun. Gandalf stood at Frodo's side and looked out under his hand. "We have done well," he said. "We have reached the borders of the country that men call Holland. Many elves lived here in happier days, when Eregion was its name. Let us be glad that the first stage of our journey is safely over. I think we will rest here, not only today, but tonight as well. There is a wholesome air about Holland. Much evil must befall the country before it wholly forgets the elves, if they once dwelt there." "That is true," said Legolas. "But the elves of this land were of a race strange to us of the sylvan folk, and the trees and the grass do not now remember them. Only I hear the stones lament them. Deep they delved us. Fair they wrought us. High they builded us. But they are gone. They are gone. They have sought the havens long ago."
Yeah, Eregion is a thing of the past.
Yep.
It is history.
Sucks. One of the only anarchist strongholds
Yeah.
in all of Tolkien.
Yeah, so just a few final thoughts. Yeah, we learned that Eregion essentially is kind of an anarchist stronghold. We thought that was really cool.
It's kind of based.
And even in the version of the story that starts with Galadriel and Celeborn, they're even driven out by the anarchists.
Yeah, the popular
which is
revolution.
really interesting. I always think it's interesting when we find out that there's multiple versions of history.
Yeah, that I didn't know. I wasn't expecting to see that in this outline.
Yeah, there was so much information in the chapter of Galadriel and Celeborn in
Oh my
the
God.
Unfinished Tales. There's
That
so much.
chapter is just so long and crazy.
And because they have their hand in so many events, Tolkien was retconning them into so many events. There's so much information about other events in that chapter that you wouldn't expect to be there. I found a whole bunch of information in that chapter about various things. Anyway, very interesting, very cool.
Yeah. Another thing we really loved is the friendship between the Noldor and the dwarves, because we hate to see our friends fight.
Right. And, this is also one of the things that we think they did so well in the show.
Yeah.
Is covering the friendship between the elves and the dwarves. And
it's only going to get tighter in season 2.
And right now it's between Elrond and Durin, but we should be seeing a friendship develop between
Celebrimbor too.
Narvi and Celebrimbor. Yeah. So this is going to be dope. Yeah, this is technically the closest elves and dwarves ever are.
They're tight as fuck.
It's pretty fucking cool. So the Eregion, it's a very interesting region to know the history of because the Rings of Power originated there.
Mm-hmm.
And the Gwaith-i-Mírdain are such an interesting group of people, such good smiths.
Totally.
To produce all this shit.
Yeah. And a labor union syndicate, right?
Yeah, essentially. In some accounts, because they made the 16, the 20 rings, the main Rings of Power, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are some accounts that say that they made many, 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 many other
minor rings, yeah.
Minor Rings of Power.
Well, because in The Hobbit,
Gandalf mentions
that, and he thought that for years that Bilbo's ring was one of these lesser magic rings, probably made in Eregion by the elves. Yeah.
Yeah. So they made all sorts of shit in Eregion, and then it was completely destroyed, and it just passed into history. They completely razed it to the ground, and the refugees either left Middle-earth or established Rivendell.
I can only imagine the things that they made out of Mithril, man.
It must have been so cool.
It must have been so great.
Because you've got the best smiths there are, and the first time they've ever come in contact with that much Mithril, so it's just, they must have made amazing shit.
I wonder if Bilbo's Mithril coat comes from Eregion originally.
I would suspect that it would come from the dwarves, because the dwarves are particularly are explicitly the most skills in the linking of rings into mail.
That's right.
Mail
that's their thing.
The dwarves are unrivaled in mail making. And considering Mithril is also their thing, I'd imagine they probably made that.
Yeah, and it also doesn't really seem that the Gwaith-i-Mírdain were into weapon craft. Very much.
I
like none
find
of the famous
anything,
shit that they made were weapons.
Right? Yeah, it seemed like it was all jewels. They were jewel smiths. So
and they're anti-war as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, these are true anarchists, my friend. You're really connecting all these dots.
I wonder if everyone's going to be pissed off that I'm saying this, but
it's interesting because it does all fit. It's
interesting.
These all
Tolkienarian.
fit the definition. Yeah, It's true. But that's about all we've got for you today, guys. We had really fun with this one.
Yeah, we did. Hopefully you liked the bit. I wrote that very quickly, and it's kind of spilled out of my brain. And
Power bit. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too.
It fit. The bit fit. So next week we've got episode 74, and that is going to be our mid-season finale for season 6 here, and we will be covering the War of the Elves and Sauron.
Well, realistically, you also get the holiday special coming up.
Yeah, holiday special is going to be coming.
So there'll be more of us to go around.
That's going to be coming closer to the new year. But that's all we've got for you this week. So thanks again for listening to KOT Podcast, you guys. And a huge thank you to our patrons.
Yeah, and if you want to become a patron and have us be so utterly thankful to you, subscribe to Patreon to help support us. It's www.patreon.com/KOT podcast.
Yeah, this helps us bring you the great new content at the same quality that you come to expect. It also helps us bring you little special projects like the Haggerty Museum.
Yeah, that whole thing was highly subsidized by the Patreon.
By the patrons. If it wasn't for patrons, that wouldn't have happened. Go check out episode 69.
Yeah, you got us out there to Milwaukee, and we saw things that some people have never fucking seen.
Yeah, it was something else. So thank you so much to our patrons. And if you're more of a one-time donation, if a monthly donation is not your speed, then we can make one-time donations happen as well. We've got PayPal and other services. Just contact us and we'll make it happen.
We'd also like to go out of our way to thank the one-time donors that funded our trip to Twin Cities Con.
Yes, our recent trip to Twin Cities Con. Go check out some of that content on our social media.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Totally a lot of fun. We got to meet Elijah, got to get a picture with Elijah Wood and
Sean Astin. We got to see their panel, too. That was super interesting.
Yeah, you got to see the mayor of Minneapolis be
a schmuck.
A schmuck in front of thousands of people.
It was hilarious. Yeah, good. That was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Check out that video, you guys. You need to, if you're from the Twin Cities, you need to see that video.
It's hilarious.
It's on our Facebook page. Check it out.
Yeah, and so don't forget to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Wherever you go to will be Keep on Tolkien Podcast. Make sure to stay up to date with our new episodes, and please rate us and give us a review while you're there.
Yeah, join us on follow us on social media. Join the Discord, server name Keep on Tolkien Podcast. There'll be a link to join that in this episode and every past episode for a long time now, and in many of our YouTube videos. So check for it in one of those places. Follow us on Twitter at KOT Podcast.
Yeah, follow us on Facebook, /official Keep on Tolkien. While you're there, don't forget to join the KOT Talk group and, ask questions and share memes and join some discussions. It's a good time.
Yeah, and also follow us on Instagram at Keep on Tolkien Podcast. And don't forget to check out the new merch store. Merch. And that's at keep-on-tolkien-podcast.tmail.com. And please check that out, guys. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, we love our merch.
We love our merch.
But that's all we got today, guys.
I'm Daddy J.
And I'm Joel N. And we are
Keep on Tolkien. Ray and Tuluva. That's
nice.
a Catholic hymn,
Yeah,
isn't it? Lay our lives before thee. How we love you. Bye, guys.
Bring us out. Thanks, man.